Hello, in this video I want to talk about the basics of the box model. Okay, so here's our setup. We're back in VS Code for this one. And I have my file loaded in Firefox. Okay, so there's a header, there's a div, the div's got one paragraph in it, and then I have set my width and height of this div to 300 pixels and gave it a background. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is right click and inspect element. And this is something you can do in Chrome as well. And this is like super handy because it shows us kind of what's actually happening in our layout. And there's also this nice little box model visualizer here, which kind of shows us the measurements and what's happening with our selected element. And we're going to work from the outside in. Okay, so starting with the margin, what the margin does is if I say margin, let's say 50 pixels, and save and refresh. What the margin does is it pushes the div away from other items. Right now we have the margin set to 50, which is a 50 margin on all sides, but we could also just say margin left, save, refresh, and then it's just on this side. We can also do margin top, margin bottom, margin right. Another shorthand is we could do margin and we could say 50, 0, 25, 100. I need my pixels here. And that would set individual margins all on the fly. So you wouldn't have to say margin top, margin right, margin bottom, margin left. You can do it all in the shorthand. Another thing to note about this is it works like a clock. So this one is the top, then we have the right, then the bottom, then the left. If we have two numbers like this, the first number, let's save and refresh. The first number is the top and the bottom, and the second number is the side and the side. Okay, so that's the margin for now. There's more to talk about in the future, but that's okay. All right, so next thing we'll look at is the border. So border's a little bit more complicated because a border has 3 parameters or else it doesn't work. So the first parameter is the width of the border. The second parameter is it solid? Is it dashed? There's many options, but for now we're just going to stick to solid. And the third parameter is the color. Do that. Refresh, and now we have a black border. We can also, much like the margin, specify individual sides. And have individual borders, which can be handy if we're making like links or something. And you can see here that you can stack one border on another, but the the order in which you put the CSS does matter, because if I did this and now it disappears. Okay, and then the last one is the padding. So what the padding does is it grows background around the interior content. So I can do padding, and if I say 50 pixels again, and save and refresh, it's pushing 50 pixels out from my original box, which is here, see? So that's the padding, that's the original box. There's no margin at the moment. Yeah, this little visualizer is so great. If I don't define these, so let's comment them out for a sec. Hit save. Now the padding is growing around the initial text, and this is something we'll look at to create buttons. Yes, and much like the others, the padding syntax is exactly like the margin, so you can have top, right, bottom, left individually, or you could say padding on just one side if you like. So padding bottom is one we'll probably use a lot. Okay. That's the start of the box model. There's more to talk about in terms of how the margins interact with each other, but that should get us started. Actually, there's a couple other things I'd like to talk about. So let's see here. Let's say the width is 300 and the height 300. Save. Okay, here's our 300 by 300. There's no padding, there's no margin. If we add some padding around this thing here, let's say 50 pixels, save. Our box is now 300 pixels for our original value, and 50 pixels of padding, and then 5 pixels of border. So that's 410 pixels wide. There's another paradigm of how this could work called box sizing, border box. I'm going to save, and what this does is now the box is 300 pixels, and the padding pushes the content, well, the border pushes the content in a little bit, and the padding pushes the content in some more. This parameter here, box sizing border box, is considered by many developers to be what the default behavior should be, and they'll set this globally in their code to make sure things behave this way, because this is actually a lot more intuitive, where the margin pushes the element away and the padding pushes the content in. It's just a lot easier to work with. Finally, there's one other parameter I want to look at because it's pretty neat. And this is the border radius. So what I can do here is we can change our border radius to get kind of soft squares and soft boxes. And we can also do this like anything else on a per corner basis. And achieve some kind of interesting looks that way. So there's a lot we can do with the border, and I'm not going to get into all of the details. I would recommend you check out the documentation for this, but there's a lot we can do to kind of customize the look of our boxes. Okay, so now you have like a minor arc. Anyway, that's it for this one.